Hey there, Silver Tongue Devil here, and today we're going to be looking at the techniques I was using during the Abyss run in the recent 15 Minutes of Fame tournament. We're going to be looking at the techniques over the actual run itself, because some blithering idiot managed to either delete or record over the footage from that very run. Doesn't really matter, it wasn't that good a run anyway that I managed to record, and in addition to that, the tournament's done. What we're going to look at doing is extracting the techniques and seeing if we can help you score some more points during your normal runs. So, tell us of this new secret scoring arrow, I hear you cry. It was none other than Barrage of Needles. Now, the techniques that I'm about to show you will work better with the bow, in my opinion, although they do work for the crossbow as well. So, to pull this off, you will need to identify the enemies that we need to be headshotting with Barrage of Needles. We are also going to be needing to be getting right up in faces and giving enemies the good news. The targets that you can pull this off on are going to vary from cycle to cycle, and also from whether you're on a normal level or in a pit. Long story short, the higher the cycle you are in, the more health pool the enemies have, and so the more targets you can actually accomplish this Barrage of Needles trick on. So the first viable enemy that we're going to be able to do this on is going to be none other than a Black Knight. This is down mainly to their huge health pool that they have even in the first cycle. You're going to have to get quite comfortable with blocking attacks with this technique, and basically what we're looking at doing is putting that Barrage of Needles directly in the face. You'll see all of those numbers ping off. We don't want to put a second one in because there's not enough health. If you do put a second one in, you'll only see the one number. So let's actually look at the nitty-gritty scoring of this. You'll see that I am at 36,915 before taking the shot. So what we're looking at accomplishing here is multiple close range headshots. They don't score much, but you get a lot of them. What we're looking at here numbers wise is it seems that there is a core flechette within Barrage of Needles that does reasonably good amounts of headshot damage. It is that and the extra flechettes that are doing us the scoring. So score wise here with a normal arrow, you'd expect to get 200-300 points from a normal arrow headshot at full draw. With Barrage of Needles, I've done the math for you, and that single Barrage of Needles shot did us 1,228 points. We're still then able to put another shot into the Knight, accomplishing even more points. However, at this point, putting another needle shot into the Knight's head won't do anything more than just the core shot that you'll see displayed on screen there. So that would just be a normal headshot. That would then be a waste of a Barrage of Needles shot because we're not getting the extra flechettes and we're not getting the extra headshots. So in this circumstance, you would want to finish off the enemy with a normal arrow. So let's put that all together and see what it looks like. So checking scores again, 38479, Barrage to the face. That then puts us up to 39955, which is 1,476 points. We would then, because the enemy is on so low a health, just finish him off with a normal arrow. That'll add a couple of extra 100 on. So you should be looking between about 1.5 and 2k from a Black Knight. Draw strength doesn't seem to be a factor here. The variance in score is down to, I think, the amount of flechettes that are actually fired by Barrage of Needles and the amount that hit. Bear in mind, that's now 1.5 to 2k from a Black Knight, where you would normally at these ranges only score anywhere between 400 and 700. So this does dovetail in very nicely with how I like to play the bow and the crossbow in an executioner style. Getting in close is what we're needing to do anyway. You'll see another slightly viable enemy at this stage, but not quite as viable as you'd think, is the Red Knights, because they have a decent health pool as well. Sometimes you'll get a few extra headshots out of them. Sometimes that Barrage of Needles initial shot will kill them and you'll only get 1 or 2. Black Knights are definitely the viable target. The more on target you get that initial shot, the more headshots you'll get, and the more chance you'll have of downing that enemy in one. If you don't down a Black Knight in one at this stage, then just finish them off with a regular arrow. So you'll see in just a moment, I hear an orphan. We're going to go straight for that. Barrage of needles to the head. That's worth anywhere between about 4 and 7k, plus the additional 25k that you actually get for dropping an orphan at this stage of the game. Now, this is one of the dangers with this technique, is getting in that close and trying to be selective with what arrows you shoot at what targets will often lead you to aggroing a lot of enemies and running the risk of getting swarmed. The way to counter this is to get in there, dump your barrage of needles into said target, and then get out again. You'll see that I went for a barrage of needles shot on a red monk there. They don't at this stage have enough of a health pool to be able to take barrage, although this Black Knight does, and there's a nice lot of points there as well. For those of you not familiar with the Executioner bonus, it's killing enemies within a short space of time of each other. Another barrage of needles here. The Black Monks aren't going to do it either. Again, although they have a large health pool, they're not going to take enough damage to be able to get the full effect out of barrage. As far as the timings of the Executioner bonus, you need to be getting kills within a 5 to 10 second gap, maybe 5 to 8 second gap. The longer the combo goes on, the more that gap is affected. So to be on the safe side, try and get your kills within about 8 seconds of each other. And a very special mention for Pit Orphans. They are worth a ton of headshot points, as well as the points that you would get for a Pit Orphan due to the Pit multiplier. So, the last thing we're going to talk about in this video about this technique is another big points hitter, which would be in the pits. So we're benefiting from this 2.5 times multiplier, and you guessed it, it's the incubi. So we want to be looking for the headshot. You'll see we are currently on 157633. The headshot then brings us up to 162540. It's about 4,900 points for a single barrage of needles headshot on an incubi. And as we may know, incubi are good points already for headshots. The previous headshot was very close, so a lot of those flechettes hit home, and then we've got the multiplier on top of that as well. You'll see my score rising by anywhere between a K to maybe 3k at these sort of ranges and distances. It can be difficult to maneuver incubi into the positions that you want, but as you can see, if you have no fear, then these are quite easy shots to make for quite large point totals. So that's pretty much all the boring mechanic-y stuff out of the way. I'm going to be doing another video very soon. That's going to be looking at some of the more advanced techniques, moving us on to double barrage of needles, which is definitely the MVP to this technique, looking at higher cycles where you can extract even more points because there's just more health available to put more headshots on more enemies. We'll also have a look at some more techniques for closing that distance, dealing with things close range, ammo management, and a few other bits and pieces that I've picked up along the way whilst I've been refining this. So hopefully you've got all that. This gives you something to go out there and have a play with. Now barrage of needles isn't just that arrow that you pick up and use for a little bit. You can actually get some extra points out of this thing now. Hopefully you'll embrace that and make use of it in your next run. If you do, let me know in the comments if it's helping you out. And as a final note, I'd just like to mention Beanie's actually helping me with some of the refinements of this technique. You can catch his live streams on Facebook where he's taking this through its paces with the crossbow, and he looks like he's doing pretty well. He's the only other player that I know of in the tournament that actually figured this out. Unfortunately, he managed to figure it out a little bit late. By a little bit late, we're talking the last 15 minutes of the tournament in its entirety. by which time his arms were that knackered that he could barely move anyway. Right, that'll do for this one. Look out for part 3 coming soon. We'll go through, as I say, the more advanced techniques, which should hopefully make Barrage of Needles a much more practical arrow in your point scoring runs. I'll see you on the next one.